Welcome to Decades of Horror, the classic era.
I just would like to warn you. My daughter sometimes acts in an abnormal way.
This is episode 127, recorded June 5th, 2022.
Gruesome Magazine.
I'm just thinking about abnormal kids, but okay. That's we've had a lot of them actually. I think.
I think so.
Dating back to Strange Seed.
Yes. I used to.
My name is Jeff Mohr.
Wait.
On this podcast, we cover the good, the bad, maybe even the ugly horror films released since the beginning of time through 1969. On each episode, we'll discuss the monster, spirits, psychos, and villains that have haunted movie-going audiences since the dawn of film history. Decades of Horror, the classic era, partners with Play Now Media on 3 of their streaming channels: the classic sci-fi movie channel, the classic horror movie channel, and the Wicked Horror TV channel. Each of these channels now includes episodes of Decades of Horror, the classic era. It's available on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, etc., etc., etc. Laptop, mobile, desktop, etc. So yeah, check that out. There's a lot of good. I mean, there's some really old, cheesy ones, and some other ones that I don't see in other places. I just found a couple of Santo movies on there. Might have to check those out. All right, moving onward. With me this week are my incredible co-ghosts. First up is Whitney Kayato, an accomplished artist, makeup artist, and writer. How you doing, Whitney?
I'm good. I just like to clarify, I did not used to be a bad seed, but I was a weird kid. I'm still a weird kid. Yeah.
Well,
how's it going?
How's your head?
It hurts. I had banged my head on like a back of, like I said to you guys, I sat down on a couch, and then there's like this bar like thing like behind me at a relative's house. Like not once but twice I made that mistake, but I'm okay.
Well, at the third time, we'll start worrying about you if it happens one more time.
It's probably far too long a story, but we have an I-beam that runs through the center of our house and sticks like 8 feet out into space. It was going to support a deck, but then we didn't put a deck up there. So there's just this like 8-inch I-beam sticking out. And one time after we'd had a snowstorm, I was walking across the patio on a drift of snow, and I bent down, and when I stood up right into that I-beam.
Oh.
It just sat me down hard. And I went,
ouch.
The stars are out. Not that I'm trying to outdo you, but maybe.
No, you're good. We have our moments.
Yes, we do. All right. Chad Hunt is not with us tonight. He had something come up and wasn't able to be here, but I'm sure he's here in spirit, and he's got the next pick, so we'll announce that at the end of the show. Also with us is Daphne, the awesome, stupendous, and likable as hell. Daphne, how are you?
I'm very good, and I'm also a weird kid.
Yes.
Yep. Weird. You're a weird kid. So on this podcast, we're going to start by giving some basic details of the film we're covering, followed by each of our first impressions of the movie, and then kind of move into a general discussion. And I'm going to give a spoiler alert, but I would love to hear from anybody that listens to this that's already seen it, and let us know what their experience was. Our topic this episode is El Libro de Piedra, written and directed by Carlos Enrique. Pardon me?
Oh, the Book of Stone.
Yes, the Book of Stone is the also known as, or the translation. Written and directed by Carlos Enrique Taboada.
Taboada. Yep.
Taboada.
Mm-hmm.
The cast includes Marga Lopez, Joaquin Cordero, Norma Lazzarino, Aldo Monti, which is an Italian name, and Lucy, I have no idea how to pronounce that.
Boof. Yeah.
Okay. It was filmed in and around Mexico City, pardon my spelling, and Amica, which is just a little bit southeast of Mexico City. It was filmed from August 5th to September 30th in 1968, released July 18th, 1969 in Mexico. And the synopsis is: a governess, Julia, comes to work in a bourgeois family that lives in an afforested property that lives in a forested property that they have recently bought. Julia is to take care of a little girl named Silvia, whose unusual demeanor may find its roots in the family garden. And one of the things we find in the family garden is this eerily creepy
child
statue of a child with a large book.
And a large
which you
smile.
may be able to infer the Book of Stone.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let's go with first impressions. And this one is Whitney's pick. So I'll let Whitney go first on El Libro de Piedra.
Piedra. Yeah. All right. El Libro de Piedra. So I was just talking to my dad about wanting to find more movies to talk about and watch with you guys. And I've never seen this before until recently. And this is one of those situations for my dad who said, I don't remember the name of the movie, but he started to describe it to me. And he talked to me about Marga Lopez, who plays Julia, the woman that takes care of the little girl in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And he started talking to me about Marga Lopez, and he was saying that she's had a history of being in horror and thrillers and from Mexican cinema. And he said he remembered her being in this, but he couldn't remember the title. So I Googled with him, and we found this. He said, oh, I liked this one. This one was really good. So you guys should discuss it. So thanks to my dad, now we watched this, and I'm excited because this is like a lot of like it has a William Castle kind of feel to it, a lot of gothic horror, kind of like a mystery, but it's also it's a ghost story in a way. And it has like almost like an atmospheric and fantasy feel to it, but it's very eerie. When you put kids in movies, it makes it even more eerie. So just watching, knowing that there's this little girl in this story, and she is just adamant about telling people within her surroundings, her family, and the woman who's just now coming into the picture taking care of her, about her friend Hugo, but he's not really alive, or what is he? Or you begin to question the characters and her surroundings. Like, is this child a ghost? Were they involved in what happened to him? What's going on? So there's a lot of mystery that kind of plays out or makes you think a little bit, and I liked that for this movie.
Yeah, I did too, and I love it when your dad suggests stuff to us.
Yes. Yeah, thanks.
So cool.
All right, Daphne, how about you?
Yeah, this was my first time too, and I really enjoyed it very much. I loved the creepy kid. I love creepy kid movies. They're so creepy. And I love the atmosphere of it. I love the story. The story was great. The characters were awesome. And I thought the music was great too. And I really liked that it was in color. I couldn't put my finger, I can't really put my finger on why, but I don't know, maybe something about it makes, I don't know, maybe just it kind of makes it a little bit more modern, like taking place in a more modern kind of creepy time. And so it kind of, I don't know, that kind of makes it even a little bit creepier. Plus it's really close to, and probably has something in it that I can't put my finger on, that's just because it's close to the 70s. So there's maybe some feel like that still that I can't always put my finger on, but I thought it was great. And doing research for it, just because I thought it was so good, I wanted to learn more about some of the people that were in it. It's like, I'm sure we're going to talk about it, but lots of other cool stuff that I would love to see, and a couple that are probably end up that we'll talk about in the future, because there was a couple that were before the 70s. So, but yeah, it was great. Thanks, Whitney's dad.
Thanks.
Okay, I'm joining the club here. So this reminded me a little bit of trying to think of how to say it, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way at all, but the level of scares remind me of like a TV movie from the 70s, I think. But a good, it's not graphic, it's not gore, it's haunting, and could have been an episode of or a long episode of like Night Gallery or something like that. It kind of fits into that framework. But of course, coming before that. So yeah, I thought it was really good. Really atmospheric, and this kid Silvia is just really creepy, and she has an imaginary friend named Hugo, and whenever somebody asks about Hugo, everybody gets really uncomfortable. So,
yeah,
which is sort of like,
it's suspicious behavior.
yeah, that should be your clue. So anyway, Hugo is the statue that we had in the first shot. So I liked it, and the acting is very good. The direction is good. I like some of the shots and the way that it doesn't linger when he doesn't need to. And then I like the story in that the story is pretty meticulous. It was only like one place where I'm kind of like going, yeah, I don't know if that really makes sense, but okay. Otherwise, everything was well laid out and justified and explained without going crazy with exposition. So, yeah, it's a good. I guess it's a ghost story. It's sort of a witch / ghost story, I guess.
I mean, there's the fantasy element that's kind of there just because of the supernatural stuff and this whole witchcraft stuff that plays into it a little bit.
So maybe I can do it this way. We've got some posters here. This I kind of think this might have been the original poster. I don't know for sure.
It's a beautiful piece of art.
That's great.
All the well, I guess I don't. Yeah, all the characters are there. So Eugenio is married to Mariana, and Carlo is their friend, I guess. Carlos.
Carlo is he's the godfather of
right.
Right. Yeah.
Silvia. Yeah.
Yeah. Good point. And let me get the cast up here. Yeah, Carlos. I don't know why I was thinking Carlo. Anyway.
It took me a minute to see like the church, like, and there's that lizard. She's climbing up there.
Oh, I know, that's creepy, and it doesn't. I meant to look that up on what kind of a lizard that is, but that is one weird.
It really is odd
symbol on its back. And then there's little Silvia.
Sweet little Silvia.
So, and this one, I think, well, you can see at the bottom, it's like a DVD cover.
I still like that one too, because it's just it's so crazy. I mean, the red background, Hugo's face. I mean,
Yes.
it looks like Julia is like hugging the dad, but it's
Yeah, it does.
it's not. She doesn't do that.
You know, that's a good point that I wanted to kind of make is there is no even the slightest hint at infidelity here. All of these
No.
characters are likable and do nothing wrong.
Yeah. Except Silvia. But yes, everybody else.
Except Silvia.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was not really too happy about the stepmother.
Oh, really? Okay.
But she had moments. I guess she had her moments. I think it was just because of I felt like she was definitely the kind. She tried too hard in some ways, and then she was really blunt about things with the child with Silvia. But then again, other people were too. Like I felt like maybe if put yourself in Silvia's shoes, everyone's like really coming down on you about stuff. Like even. But when it goes to the stepmother, she's like, I know you don't like me, but she's still trying to force it that there on her to have conversation. And when you force yourself on a child, naturally they're going to be on the defensive side. So I thought it was pretty well played out to put those dynamics in there. And I think, did I hear this right? But with even the one that came in to take care of Silvia, Julia, she I think even in the beginning she said, I don't like you, but I have to take care of you.
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
Dang, like everyone's just really hating on Silvia. So
We gotta get to know her though.
yeah, that's true. That's very true. Yes, we do have to. You do, but also like if you poke long enough, there's going to be retaliation.
Well, you're right. The stepmother, like she's caught in that line between I can't be your mother, but yet I still have to discipline her, and so she doesn't know what to do. And then even when she tries, Silvia puts her in her place, and then when stuff starts happening, then she starts getting really frustrated, and then she gets almost not nice.
No.
Well, and she even says to Julia, she could really screw it up for screw up my marriage.
Yes, she did.
I know it's probably translation, but it was just like, well, let's get right to the chase, but you're right. I didn't think about it like as far as the writing goes that, in some ways stepmothers, but you also kind of liked her too, but
yeah, she had her moments.
But she, the dynamic between the two was not so good. Yeah.
But it could have been worse. She wasn't like the typical stepmother that was evil, you know. She just tried to, you could tell she was just trying too hard.
Right.
She wasn't plotting.
Right.
No.
The only thing that she made me question a little bit was what did she have to do with Hugo and the way she, among other people, were saying they didn't really want to talk about him,
So she has this imaginary friend, and it kind of seems like they're torn between letting her have the imaginary friend and straighten her out, make her live in reality. And there's sort of a couple of dialogues like that go back and forth. What did you think? So let's just throw this cast up there. So we had Joaquin Cordero as Eugenio, and his wife Mariana is played by Norma Lazzarino, and then Marga Lopez is Julia, the governess, and Aldo Monte is their friend Carlos, who just apparently, I don't know, he kind of reminded me of the guy from Donovan's Brain that just he doesn't have any place else to go. He just shows up and lives with them for a while or something.
That's always what it's like in like.
The guy said, "Yeah." He shows up and he goes, and "Yeah, what can we do? We invited him."
Yeah.
Bad on us.
There's always that one relative. He's like that
it's kind of hard to
uncle.
see, but Julia has this doll in her arms there that plays a part in it too. Carlos brings this doll, and then I don't know. It took me a while to figure that out, but then Silvia steals Mariana's scarf, puts it on
or
the
handkerchief
doll
or something.
Yeah.
and hangs the doll in this hut. Or no,
Well, did she or did Hugo?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's a good point. You don't ever really know for sure.
No.
That's definitely something that was left to question throughout the story. Like, was this the girl that did some of the stuff, or what did she, or was it the imaginary friend? Was it Hugo? Because was it the stepmother, or was it the person? Oh, was it Paulina? Which one came into the hut? Which one came into the hut and took the doll?
I can't remember what her name was, but she
Paulina
was like,
Paulina?
Okay.
Yeah, so it was Paulina. So because she took the doll down and she was coming down on the girl, she was berating her for having the doll in there. What did you do to it? What's this about? And I know even the subtitles like cut out on that some, but I mean, but still the conversation still carries in that way. She's interrogating the girl about the doll, wanting to know why'd she have it there, who put it there. And I think at one point she only just says like Hugo at one point. So so that's like the excuse for almost anything that happens, it seems.
And actually there are points later on where it's Hugo, right?
There's
stuff going on, and then the people, they all come up with these explanations. It wasn't that, it was just this.
That's something that I liked about the story too, is that there was definitely some people who like would never accept that this is a possibility. They're very rooted in science and facts and very comfortable with that, and they can explain things away. But then there were also people who had no problem seeing that there was something creepy going on or something. And even the fact that Julia, I felt like she kind of went to, no, this is witchcraft. This is pretty quick. I mean, she was like, no, she's not crazy. She's not crazy. She's evil. Like she's not crazy. She's doing black magic, And I was like, I really liked that there was like these two, just that there was those two views about it to kind of add to what's going on,
Even with some of her behavior as the story progresses, when she does admit that, like she has this weird, like creepy smile when she does say that it's black magic.
Oh, yes, she does.
Weird.
So how did you do that? Oh, it was, what is it? Magica Negra.
Yeah.
Like what? That smile.
Herminia is there's Herminia and Bruno they're a couple,
Herminia was the younger one. I'm not sure if Paulina was the older one.
So here's the deal. When I looked at the pictures of the actors, all they had was a picture of a very young person under Lilia Castillo, but I'm almost certain that they called the younger one Paulina when she maybe I got them mixed up.
No, you could be right.
Ada Carrasco.
Ada.
Paulina, and Lilia or Lilia Castillo. Lilia
Castillo.
And then Manuel Donde as Bruno. Then there's some other people that make brief appearances. But Bruno's the gardener, and Herminia, or the one that I thought his partner is a she's like the cook and like household manager kind of, it seems like. But yeah, she right away says, yeah, the doctors say she's crazy, but nah, she's a witch.
Yeah.
That's like, and then Bruno's like, you always jump to that conclusion. So yeah, you're right. That's some good tension going on there. And of course, Dad doesn't buy it, but Mariana, stepmom, is starting to have her doubts. It's good stuff. Let's. So this is.
Those are really great scenes, both of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She tells Julia Sylvia tells Julia she wants to show her this church. Have you seen the church, I think?
Yeah.
And then they go walking out there, and apparently she like disappears, and you see her. She's clear up on top of this church. That it's insane. It's got like this dome roof. There's nothing to hang on to. And she tells Julia, here, climb over there. And then
and she does it. But I mean, I get it. She's trying to see if she could get this child down, you know?
Yeah. Right.
And
right.
I get it.
Hugo made her go up there, right? Because later she says, don't make me do that again. I don't like that. I'm not doing that again, or something like that. And then at one point, does Paulina find her doing this?
I think for some reason I thought it was Paulina.
Well, I know it was I think it was the younger one, younger person.
Drawing the witchcraft symbol, basically.
Yeah.
And what does so this is cool. This has one of those tropes, right? Where, so you may think the little boy in the robe and the large book with a cherubic smile has a copy of the Bible in his hands, but it's not. It's a book of black magic. So then I think, do they take a picture or they draw it? They draw that symbol that she uses, and she's making it with salt. And then they go visit an expert on the occult, which is such a thing that it's just, I love it whenever they do that in occult movies. They go consult the experts on what's going on, and he explains this symbol to him, although he doesn't know that much about it.
But also, didn't the guy say like he couldn't repeat it or something?
It was like so evil that you can't say, or you can't say it. You have to, which I thought was really cool, because I like that he said you could only bring it about by using elements or something. And I was like, ooh, creepy. You know, like it's so evil that you have to use the elements of the earth or whatever.
Yeah. Because they start talking about her using the salt. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's so bad that you can't say that.
Yeah, it had all these symbols around it and then one in the middle. And they said, well, what's it called? I can't say the name. That's why there's symbols. You just know by the So where do they get the story about God, there's just a huge backstory here, but it kind of changes. So where does Hugo come from?
Austria.
Holstenberg or Holdenberg.
Holstenberg is what she says. I don't.
Yeah. And it was weird because Silvia is telling Julia about it, right? And she's telling her, like, when she's teaching her and telling her, oh, he's from Austria, and she says Holstenberg or Holdenberg. Sorry, I can't remember how she said it, but exactly. And then, so she, after hearing that, Julia goes to her father, right?
I think it was Carlos. I think they were, they're looking it up or something, I think.
Oh, okay.
I think it was those two.
All right. So, because she ends up talking about how is it that this child has, this kind of information, and this is sort of new to her. you know, that sort of deal. And then yeah, so okay, so Carlos was the one that was saying, like, he was trying to be the logical, like, kind of just putting it, how do I say it, just coming up with excuses.
Ways to was using reason and stuff.
Yeah.
And you're right, she did actually talk. You're right, she did go and talk to Silvia's dad after they found out that it was a real place.
Okay, yeah.
She was like asking, have you traveled through Europe? And then so they were talking about that. Yeah,
that's what I thought.
Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, he just says, oh, she could have read it in a book.
Right.
Right.
Blah, blah,
Right.
blah.
Yeah.
But what's the story? So then they look into this Holstenberg, Austria, and like it was destroyed by the Nazis. And that's how they got the statue over there somehow.
I don't know about that part. And I think part of it cut out. I think the subtitles cut, at least on what I was watching, is the subtitles kind of cut out a couple of times. But I think I think the dad said that someone else who lived here before.
Yes, it was the family who lived before.
Yeah. But how it got how it survived the bombing of this, or I guess it didn't survive the bombing, right? Because that's his son. His son is the statue. There was everybody died.
Well, but then they also say, I think it's the occult expert that says something about something about the is that, I thought they were talking about like 500, 700, 1,000 years. It was some talk like that about the father died, and he put the son with his book for 1,000 years until he could be resurrected or something.
Right. Yeah. I think that's basically it. Yeah.
Well, I thought I understood it when they said it, but now I can't seem to.
It's a little complicated.
So
that's how I took it. Was that basically there was this guy, this father, and he turned his son into stone so that he could be resurrected, so he could protect this book, so that the father could be resurrected again. But I don't know much. But I didn't really get an idea of Holstenberg,
and they did mention,
or what. They just said it was destroyed during the war, and they kind of it was kind of some way for Silvia to say another thing that she wasn't supposed to know, but yet knew somehow. That's kind of how I took it. But you're right, when thinking about more like what, who, what, I can't explain the connection between the city in Austria, but that's just where Hugo came from. And I don't know.
Yeah.
And he's protecting a black magic
book. Yeah. I just went with it, but now that you're right, you're right. Now asking it's like
crazy,
but it's just okay.
Well, it starts off being one thing, and then it gets bigger, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's I loved how they like kind of moved you forward in this stuff. First when Julia shows up, I'm the new governess. Oh yes, Julia's outside playing. Well, tell me where she is. Well, she's outside playing, but you're not going to be able to find her. No one can ever find her. And I'm like, what is this? At that point you're wondering. I was wondering if the kid was a ghost.
Right?
Yeah. If Silvia was, so.
Or if it was going to be a twist where all of them were something, because it made me think a little bit about what, I can't even think of the title right now, but the Netflix series spun off of the film where there was a family, and you know what I'm talking about, don't you, Jeff?
Oh, is the Haunting of Hill House? Or
that?
No.
Yes,
yeah?
Yes. See, it made me think a lot of that story.
Because the domestic part of it, and not knowing what.
Yeah.
Well, so, and I was taking these notes down because I did at some point say, I wrote something down and said it was over 5 centuries old. This statue. So I don't know. But you know, who brings in your new governess and goes,
Right.
my daughter's kind of abnormal.
Yeah.
And then Julia doesn't even ask him what that means.
Well, and I have to, when I watched it a second time, I kind of picked up on some of the other stuff that was so kind of funny and melodramatic to me. Like she might have mental illness. And then there was like boom, 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 you know, with the music and the zoom in on Julia, zoom in on.
Well,
You know?
so tell me about this. There was a weird little thing where they talk about having, you know, I forget who says it, but somebody says maybe she should be put in a mental institute. And Julia freaks out. No.
Yeah, you're right.
You can't do that.
Not that.
So I thought they were going to reveal something about her that would show why she was so afraid of that. And all we ever do get is that she had a daughter. And Silvia asked her to tell her about her, and she just says, well, maybe another day. And then that's all we ever hear, I think.
Yeah, she never said anything else.
Anyway. So then at some point, I think that's pretty early on when Julia's playing with Silvia and they're coming back to the house and she loses her brooch.
Yeah.
This branch grabs it and it drops into the lake. And then during the night, she notices something moving or senses a presence or something. And she goes up and looks and finds the brooch on the top of the dresser or the table or wherever.
Is that the same scene? Sorry, you go ahead.
No, go ahead. The same scene.
Is that the same scene where like that there's feet like hidden behind like the curtain? Like,
that wasn't the same scene, but that I was thinking about that scene. Yeah, it's not the same scene, but yeah.
Okay.
There were
those are all the things.
Yeah,
the brooch
like
reappears, right? Brooch reappears. We see the footprints on the floor. You see the robe and the bare feet sticking out from behind the curtain.
Yeah.
The dog.
Yeah, that was. I hate that in movies. And I'm like, oh no. He says that he has to untie him. Like, by the time they get there, something's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Or
the dog's gone.
Yeah, he's gone.
But oh my gosh, then that just made it possible to have Silvia go, the dog is dead.
Yeah, she was smiling.
Wow, with this great big grin on her mouth.
I'm like, what is wrong with this child? He's smiling. But then again, I'm not like saying it's an excuse, but if we remember correctly, like the dog is like all in her face, barking at her, jumping her. And then they're telling her, oh, he's just playing with you. But really I guess he was intimidating her or could sense something about her. I don't know.
Oh, I didn't think about that. But yeah, that's good. You're right. Yeah, she was scared. It's another one of those things where, well, she was scared. So she's relieved. She's not happy. She doesn't have to be afraid of the dog anymore. She's happy that she's not afraid. Yeah, she doesn't have to be afraid. Yeah. So when, so that scene that you were talking about, though, where then first of all, I love that scene. And this is the one where you see the little feet. But because there was a few scenes in bedrooms that were kind of similar where someone was by themselves and then something happened and it was usually very dark. And but the scene in for example, there's that right there. Yeah. Oh, that's good.
That's nice.
That was an awesome. Think about
so good.
It's good.
That's little Michael Myers. And
I was just gonna say, that's Halloween right there.
It's freaky.
Except 9 years earlier. Yeah, it's very well done.
Oof, yes.
And then she sees it in the mirror.
Yeah, she did. That's like everyone's nightmare is like walking by a mirror and then seeing something else.
Yeah. And then you turn around and it's not there.
Yeah. Oh man,
I
I
well,
really
look at that
enjoyed that.
face too. Look at, I mean, you look at his
It's
face
evil,
and then look at the
Yeah.
statue. Oh,
right?
yikes.
Creepy.
Beatific. That's what. Yeah.
Yes, beatific.
But
But
there's
the
a lot
scene
of
you were
this weird
talking,
stuff. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the scene that Whitney was talking about with the feet. I would really liked that scene in the sense of first, you know, like Julia leaves and then the camera slowly pans. Like you were talking, someone was
Yeah.
talking about pace, and it's like sometimes things do really slow down. Like sometimes they're going at a really good clip, but sometimes things slow down, and so you see Sylvia's face with a weird grin, looking around, and then the camera slowly goes around the room, really, really slowly goes around the room, and then stops at the curtain and eventually goes down to the feet. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. But then I was like, wait, those are real feet. Those are real feet, aren't they? Or are those statue feet?
Yes.
Well, apparently he can, like, he put hexes on people, because then Mariana, when she's driving the car, gets this like
pain in her hand,
pain
or
in her
something.
wrist.
Yeah.
And then later on in her leg.
And then that
her
leads
head.
up to the finding the doll, right?
Yep.
Because that's why she's been going through these pains.
You're right. I remember thinking that the second time I watched it. I was finally like going, oh, because then after they find the doll, then Mariana's like, oh, I feel amazingly good now. You know?
Yeah.
All of a
I
sudden
took my medicine and now I feel great. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's because Sylvia or Hugo or both of them were doing some weird things to a doll.
Exactly.
Well, the other thing that was so matter of fact, when she draws that diagram on the floor, Sylvia, then the maid asks her, what is that supposed to do? What are you doing? I wanted to resuscitate my lizard.
Yes.
And there's this lizard laying there on its back, I think. Isn't it on its
dead.
back?
Yeah.
Oh, she's so open about it.
Yes.
She's
telling
the
her
maid
that
gives her a hard
dead.
time about quit messing around with salt. You're always,
You're such a weird.
And
why
then
do you
leaves,
do these
and then
things?
finds this dead lizard, finds this live lizard in her bed, like, or someplace. I don't know. Was she going to make the bed or something? I'm sorry, Whitney. What were you?
No. I was basically going to say a lot of the same of that scene with the maid and the conversation, but you've already covered that. That's not a big deal.
No, sorry.
It was weird. No, it's cool. It's cool. You said it. It's
so then
weird.
I forget, where is Carlos going?
Oh, he's the one that brought up the conversation about, I don't remember where he was going, but I know he had the intention of coming back because they talked about destroying the statue. Is that right?
Yeah.
So, and I guess like Hugo caught wind of that or something, and then the accident happened with Carlos. And
I love it when somebody's driving high speed on a curvy road and they see something in the rearview mirror and then they go.
yes. In the dark, he's taking off. He's driving, and then you see Hugo in that rearview mirror.
That doesn't seem to bother Eugenio at all. He's just like,
no.
Oh, I knew this fast driving would come back to haunt him or something like that.
I know.
Yeah, no, that's like the worst. No, who does that?
Yeah, he's pretty cold. I mean,
So
to Sylvia and just in general, and his little bourgeois. Oh, I don't like any familiarity between the staff and these people.
It's kind of a rite in our house to have sherry before dinner.
Right. Drink it.
He's not that weird, but it is.
No, yes.
Yeah.
Strange. He just gives it to her and she's like,
okay. Thanks.
Yeah. He's very
There's a
assertive.
lot of places.
Yes.
There's a lot of places too, like up on that church, on that dome. There's like a shadow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're at
Yeah.
that's broad daylight, and you see a
Mhm.
shadow kind of back
Mhm.
out of the scene,
Mhm.
or
Mm-hmm.
there's other ones like that,
Mhm.
where you see a shadow or footprints that are just.
Yeah, I was about to mention the footprints because it was the stepmother who said something to Julia about that, right? Like whose footprints are those?
Mhm.
Well, let's go ahead, Daphne.
I was just gonna say, I know I can be a little slow sometimes, but I really felt like they did for me anyways, they did a good job slowly
Oh
introducing
yeah,
the belief that maybe Hugo is actually real or is coming to life because at first it would be easy to think, oh, she's just having, I mean, look at her life. I mean, she was sick, she's by herself, no one cares
yeah.
about her, she's running around, no one knows, oh, you can't find her.
She
So
doesn't go to
yeah,
regular school,
she
and
doesn't
she
go to
No,
doesn't
she
regular
have their
doesn't.
nobody
school. She's
lives
70.
around them.
Yeah.
And they
Doesn't like her stepmom. So you're kind of like, okay, yeah, sure. I can believe or, that this is just, maybe she is kind of going crazy, or maybe this is just, but then slowly, you're like, huh, maybe something spooky is going on, and it
Yeah.
starts out kind of slower. And then all of a sudden you're seeing these little feet behind a curtain, or someone's head popping up in the mirror. I'm like,
And
yep.
in the beginning, when they're talking about Silvia being in solitude, they mentioned because of the health. Like they said something about she had, was it meningitis or something
Yeah,
at
I
one
think
point?
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of like unique instances
Mhm.
and weird ones, but
Mhm.
the health situation
Mhm.
was something that made sense
Mhm.
to have a kid in
yeah.
solitude like that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, maybe it's because we were watching the movie and kind of knew what was going on. But the one thing that hit me as not making sense was when, who is it? I think it's Eugenio and Carlos go, or no, Eugenio and Julia go in to identify Carlos' body from the
Yeah.
car wreck.
Mhm.
And Mariana, you sure you want to stay here alone? Oh yes, I must get used to staying home alone with Silvia. I'm like going, no.
Yeah, about that.
I kind of thought that too, but then I thought, she kind of thought that she just got better, and people were telling
Yeah,
her that she was
yeah,
nervous and stuff. And she did initially say, "I'm scared, but I need to get over it," So, a little bit, maybe I could buy that, but
yeah.
yeah, but no, I was like, "What? You were
Not
terrified,"
the
unless
time. Not the
you're trying
time.
to convince yourself that you're not scared, probably, but I don't know.
So I was
Yeah.
going to take a look at the director here, and we
Mm.
talked about this a little bit beforehand. And he's has a pretty good history of film. He wrote a lot
Yeah.
of films, and then
Mhm.
also directed some. And it said that, or I found that they said he's best known for supernatural terror and suspense
Yes.
films, and
Mhm.
those included this one here, which I'm not going to try to. Hasta el viento.
Viento tiene miedo. Like even in the wind, even something. Hang on, I can't.
Well, they
I
said,
said
that the English title is "Even the Wind is Afraid."
yeah.
Now, they don't always translate those very well, but and that film had both Norma Lazarino and Marga Lopez in it. You can actually
Mhm.
see Marga
Yes.
Lopez there in
Mhm.
the poster. And then the other two were Mas Negro que la Noche.
Darker than night, and then Veneno para las Hadas, which is the poison for the fairies.
Right. Right. Yeah. And that one won 2 Ariel Awards for
And
Best
that's a
Picture
big
and Best
deal.
Director.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I looked that up right away, and I couldn't find a.
Mhm.
I didn't dig into like YouTube and some of the other
Mhm.
non-copyrighted ones, but I didn't find it available. I really wanted to find a DVD or something of this one,
Mhm.
but it's apparently out of print, and
Oh.
or it seemed like it was kind of expensive.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't recall, but the quality. So we watched it on YouTube, and
Mhm.
I don't know about you guys, but you've mentioned a couple of times about the subtitles. I felt like whoever did the subtitles might have been just sort of doing a that wasn't their normal job. They might have just been doing that as a public service, because
Yeah.
some of the translations are obviously
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
Sylvia's going to screw my marriage.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there was a couple other ones like that. And then there's, like you guys said, there's a couple places where they're gone. There's
Yeah.
no subtitles. Now you could tell it's not very long, and you could tell what was going on, I think,
Right.
for the most part. But
Yeah,
but
but there was some
the
translations that were so minor translations that you saw that were like repetitive when
Mhm.
just like oh we'll see you in the morning, but when it's like they're clearly saying like the next, it's something more like it's to the next day.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, that was repeated twice in the text.
yeah, I think she
Mhm.
says, does the little girl say hasta mañana,
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
and then they say good night or something
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
that.
that
Mhm.
happened a couple of times.
Mhm.
So
But I would let, and the transfer, the quality isn't great. I've watched worse, but it's not
yeah.
great. And so
Mhm.
I think there's a lot more to the shadows and the dark
Mhm.
scenes and
Mhm.
that kind of stuff that we'd be able to see. In fact, on the last 80s episode, when we did Evil Dead Trap, Japanese film from 1988, Bill said the first time he saw it was on a gray market video, and he didn't think it was a very good movie, but it was because he was seeing such a crappy copy.
Mhm.
When we watched a good copy of it, it was just like balls out, knock you
Mhm.
off your chair, like a Japanese giallo, like
Mhm.
what
True.
Bill
Wow.
ended up saying it would probably fit on one of his top 10 giallo films.
Mhm. Wow. So check that one out.
So,
And there were a
with,
lot of dark scenes in this movie. You
Yeah.
have to
yeah,
wonder, if there's something more there.
yeah,
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
there's literally
Mhm.
scenes where somebody would turn around and walk into the shadow, and you had no
Mhm.
idea what was going on. At least
Mhm.
I didn't.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
couldn't really see it. So I would love to see this remastered in some way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think also because it seemed like the sets or the decor in the house, it was all very like there was lots of texture
Mhm.
and I mean the house was beautiful. The outdoor scenes were
They were gorgeous
they were
too.
gorgeous too. And so I feel like pains were taken to create the atmosphere, obviously the
Mhm.
atmosphere. But even just on the day-to-day kind of more mundane rooms or whatever, I feel like it would be nice to kind of see. I bet there was probably a lot more to see there than we were able
Yeah,
to see. Yeah.
definitely. Even in the that exterior with the garden, and then
Mhm.
in the wooded areas going towards the statue of
Mhm.
Hugo. Um, those were really well shot, and then
Mhm.
even in the day, it was really weird just looking at the statue, especially like the one
Mhm.
scene when you have Carlos, like he's painting him,
Mhm.
and then you look up, and then the statue's gone.
Mhm.
So the atmosphere didn't matter if it was daytime
Mm-mm.
or what; it was still eerie with
Yes.
things like that.
Yeah, yeah, there
Mhm.
was some really creepy daytime ones, which is always an
Yeah.
interesting
Mhm.
um, thing to do. There was another scene where we don't see her die, but when they find Mariana's body,
Yeah.
apparently by the lake, and I assume she drowned. She was just sort of face down with her head in the lake, although the rest of her body really wasn't. Right?
Yeah.
That
was creepy.
When they rolled her over, something about that was really, it seemed too real.
Yeah.
Just to kind of give some credit here to the cast. I was looking this stuff up. So, Whitney, you had mentioned Marga Lopez.
Yeah, she's from Argentina. Like my father told me that. He's like, yeah, she's an Argentinian actress, but she played in a lot of Mexican cinema. And
your dad should be on the podcast.
Yeah. We need to have a Whitney dad special.
He doesn't even need IMDb. From Argentina.
No. Well, the funny thing is, like, when it comes to what my dad and I have in common, sometimes we'll watch something and we're not good with names of the character. If it's not the name of the character, if it's not the name of the film, there's something about the film that we forget, whether if it's the title or a name or a character. But we're describing, we know what's going on, but we describe the character and the story. So it was sort of the same thing with my dad when he watched this. He was describing the movie to me, and he was saying, Marga Lopez. But I don't remember the name of the movie, but I know Marga Lopez is in it because she's from Argentina. And he was going on and on about how there's so much talent from Argentina, whether if it's acting or actors or musicians that come to Mexico, and then they really do well with their audiences there. And he said it's just like a cesspool magnet for Argentinian talent. So, and he talked about her to me. In this
I need
movie.
to be looking this up too, because in reading about some of the cast, I heard them talking about, they'd say things like the golden age of cinema in Mexico.
Yeah.
Or the golden age of Mexican cinema, which I sort of took was like the 50s and 60s, but I'm not entirely certain.
But
so
then
she was.
Yeah, you go ahead, sorry.
She had 107 credits in IMDb, or has, and she won 3 Silver Ariel for performances, and a special Golden Ariel, which I assume was for like Lifetime or something, and was nominated another 6 times. So she was like really a leading figure in Mexican cinema.
Yeah. And what's interesting is seeing someone from another country or had lineage from another country was Aldo Monti. He's Italian.
Yep.
And then hearing a little bit about him. So I'll let you explain that one.
Oh, what's that?
I'm going to let you explain that one,
Jeff.
Well,
I thought that too, because I thought Aldo, isn't that Italian? Maybe it's Spanish. Yeah, born in Rome. He only has like 47 credits, but among those credits, this is the guy who played Carlos there. He was in Santo in Anonymous Death Threat in 1975, Santo and Blue Demon versus Dracula and the Wolfman, 1973, The Vengeance of the Vampire Women in 1970, and Santo in The Treasure of Dracula, 1969. And he plays Dracula in the 2 that have Dracula in the title.
So cool.
Nice.
And I think those are available. There's like a half a dozen Santo movies that from the 70s, I think, that are on Blu-ray, but I haven't watched them yet because they're dubbed, and I just so much more like watching, hearing the actual actors' emotions and things than dubbing. But I think I'm going to have to break down on that. And then even Joaquin Cordero, who played Eugenio, according to 2 different places I saw, said he was one of the most popular actors in Mexican cinema. Yeah.
Yes.
And he had a Silver Ariel for Best Supporting Actor, and with over 200 credits in IMDb. So they had an accomplished,
a great cast.
I thought they all were great. I mean, Cordero being the kind of cold father, I thought he was, really great, but there was also some personality to him around his wife and his friend. I felt like, you know, he wasn't just like there was some more depth to him. And I really liked Aldo Monti. I thought he was great.
There's that. Go ahead, Whitney.
You go ahead. No, you're fine. You go ahead.
Well, there's that scene where he's out painting.
Yeah.
And as he's painting this like landscape, and he looks over and the statue's gone. All you can see is the pedestal without the statue.
Yeah.
And then he runs looking for it and runs into Silvia. And then when they turn around, the statue's back on the pedestal. And she gets really mad at him and tells him, you know, you've ruined everything. Now he's gone. And then I don't remember if that's when it is, but at some point she tells somebody, you're going to make him mad at you. And Hugo's going to turn you into a spider or something like that.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember that.
Anyway, that's.
No, but we were talking a little bit about going through the cast, and then even the smaller roles, like the gardener, Bruno, like he's played in some American films even. And I think he was, and we watched Macarillo, and he was in that too. But I'm
very cool.
Remember.
Yeah, he had a small part in one of the envoys for the Inquisition, you know, that tries Macario.
I'm the treasurer of the Sierra Madre.
Yeah, that.
One that always hits me. He's one of the Mexican bandits. He's El Jefe. So. Yeah,
you're right. There is great.
I have to go back and watch that as well. So, and this guy had, Manuel Dunde had 296 credits in IMDb. So I think he's, you know, like we find people like that. They're a lot of times they're uncredited. They have lots of small parts, but they just start. But they get those parts because I think they have a look and they're good at what they do. And
yes,
he does it. He does very well in this one too, and he was nominated for 3 Silver Ariels. So.
It's a great cast. I mean, a lot of accomplishments with all the cast, and it was all impressive. I mean, even with Silvia, you know, just the kids, you know, kids aren't easy sometimes, but the kids were really good and as small and as little as we could see Hugo. Those were some pretty prominent things that stuck out. Was how creepy he made it all. Him coming out in that gown with that smile, and the smile in the mirror. It's you don't have to have a line. It's just freaky enough.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. There he is.
Shoot. Oh well.
It's how my nephews look at me when they want something. Right behind me. See it right there. One looks like, can I get some milk and cookies?
Whitney, you look so pretty today.
What do you want?
I really like playing with you.
What's going on?
They're good kids.
Yeah, we're now down to we've done movies with that had 2 of the 3 Mexican bandits from Treasure of the Sierra Madre.
Oh.
And that was the other one was in The Hitchhiker.
Yeah, the Ida Lupino movie,
played
right?
The police lieutenant or something. Jose Torbe, I think. All righty.
That's all again.
So this is worth checking out, and we just watched it on YouTube. Whitney found one with subtitles. I tried to find other ones, but I couldn't.
Yeah, sorry guys. It's the only one I can find on YouTube.
Fine.
No, it's good. Yeah,
it was good enough. It's enough that I mean, I did too. I watched it twice, and I enjoyed it. It's hour and 40 minutes, I think. But it's one of those movies that's kind of fun to watch a second time to see how it unfolds and how they you may have missed some of the cues or the leads at some point.
I definitely
check
found
it out.
stuff
I'll put assuming I'll remember, I'll put a link to this YouTube feed and the blog notes if anybody wants to check this out.
Check it
But
out.
the other
Yes.
good side of that is when it ran out, and it starts to reload the next movie. It was a movie by, was it Buñuel? Bunuel, which is a guy I've read about before, and a director in Mexican movies, and it looked like it'd be pretty good, but I can't. I got to go back to it and hope that it
Does it again?
goes into the next one because I want to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome when I was just, like I was saying, doing a little bit of research on this movie. I was like, all these other folks and other movies I learned about that sounded really good, and the references to like famous Mexican horror movies, and I'm like, what? Tell me, like what's this? What's that? And so there's like I have a little list now of folks to check out and see.
Yeah.
More.
Yeah, I have a little tab on a spreadsheet when I see somebody like a list of 10 Mexican horror movies you should see. I put them on there that at some point to like dig through, trying to find them. So I think, any final thoughts on this? Things we didn't say that you wanted to say?
I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed the director. It's awesome that he wrote the story too. They wrote that he was a writer. The story's great. I thought it was. I think it's worth seeing. It's really good.
That was one of those things I found out because I looked at his films he directed. He had 19 directing credits in IMDb, but he had 60 writing credits, and he wrote several Santo movies from the 70s, which I thought was interesting. Whitney, any final?
All I can say is I really love this, and I'm thankful for my dad for so many reasons, but especially for this, for pointing in a direction of, hey, if you want to watch more movies, even if he didn't know the title, he helped me find it. So on YouTube, so Mexican cinema, I feel like there's a lot out there, and Carlos Enrique Taboada is one of those people I want to learn more about, and I wish I learned more about him before. But I mean, it's never too late, and I'm glad we watched this. I definitely love this, and I highly recommend it.
By the way, there is a Facebook page for this movie. That's just some big fan put it up, and there's not a lot of stuff going on there, but I think if you went and made a comment, somebody would
very cool,
generate some. So the other thing is, what are the Mexican like soap operas that are really
novellas,
telenovelas? Is that a lot of these actors moved into telenovelas in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, that's where the work was. That was the consistent stuff going on then.
Where the money was,
Yes, that was where the money was, because even though like horror, suspense, that kind of thing was, people have a love for it, but it's even in Mexico, it's sort of niche. It's but with the novellas, telenovelas, that's where the popularity is at. So
good for them.
Yes.
Getting in there.
Okay. Well, let's we do have some feedback.
Cool.
Couple of quick ones. Anybody want to? The first one is on War of the Worlds.
I'll read it.
Okay.
Episode 125, The War of the Worlds, James Hudson. Hi, James. I really loved watching this film when I was younger. And did any of you know there was a TV series sequel in the 90s? And have to agree, I enjoyed the Tom Cruise film as well. Thanks, James. I did not know there was a TV series sequel.
There's a bunch, and I think we talked about it a little bit with Dave before we did the episode, but there was a TV series like 88 to 90, but I don't know who did it or what network, and I think there might be DVDs or something out there to watch it. There was also a series recently in 2019 that's a really, it's one of those ones you would describe as a reimagining. And they take a similar premise and go different places with it, with Gabriel Byrne as one of the leads.
Oh, really? Oh, I like him.
So I watched the first season. I don't know how I did that because I tried to look up and see what network it was on, and it's on, as best I can tell, it's on Epix, but I don't have a subscription to Epix. So I don't know how I watched it, but I did watch the first season. And then there was a miniseries, like a 3-episode miniseries in 2019 too.
Wow.
So War of the Worlds, there's lots of them out there, James, but thanks for pointing that out. I need to kind of dig that out because that's got there's like 40 episodes of that.
Wow.
The 88 to 91. Whitney, can you do the next one?
Keith Harvey. Hello, Keith Harvey. Does anyone remember a similar film about witches in a big city, maybe New York, made in early or mid 40s?
So he was commenting to The Seventh Victim, episode 97. And the only thing I could come up with is they had these inner sanctum mysteries that Lon Chaney was in, at least like 4 of them. And there was one called Weird Woman, where it was kind of a combination voodoo witch thing takeoff of Conjure Wife or Burn Witch Burn, if you remember that movie. But I don't know. And I hope Keith comments back and I could see if that fits it or not. There was some other ones. There was a comedy called I Married a Witch with Frederick March.
Did that turn into Bewitched?
It may have. It may have been the foundation.
And it's not, I don't think it's not horror at all, but when I think of like a witch in a city and there's other witches, it's more of like a Christmas. It took place around Christmas time. I think it's like Bell Book and Candle.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But see, this is what we were talking about, which is so awesome, is that you can sit around and go, so there was this one movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have one of those with tarantulas. Yeah. That I can never
I'm going to throw one out that I've been looking for years. It was some TV series, I think, that was syndicated or something when I was a kid. So it would have been like probably early 60s or early to mid 60s. And I still don't remember exactly what it was, but it was kind of this guy. There was these highwaymen who were trapping people, and I think they were robbing them. They might have been killing them. I don't know. But the 2 visuals I have of it is the guy driving down the highway at night and getting hypnotized by the center line. And the other one was they had an old, like 30s car with one of those kind of humpback trunks. And the bad guys would get in front of your car, pop open the trunk, and these logs came out of the trunk.
Oh, wow.
And ran you off the road. And I'm like, I don't know. It's one of those things that's always stuck in my mind. And I have spent so much time trying to figure that out, and I've never been able to find it. So if that rings a bell with anybody, please let me know.
Let's help Jeff out.
Yes. Well, and I forgot to fill this out, but I know what the answer is. That's it for this episode, but every 2 weeks, we'll be focusing on a specific film released between 1920 and 1969. Next up, this one chosen by Chad, which is funny somebody mentioned William Castle. It's William Castle's Mr. Sardonicus.
Nice.
And this one is on one of those channels that I mentioned before that carries our podcast. I think it's on the Classic Horror Movie channel.
Cool.
Awesome.
I don't know if there's other places you can find it or not, but I have a fun story about this one, at least for me. At any rate, I'm looking forward to that one. Chad, we missed you, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Till
plenty of
next
ways
time.
to stay in touch.
Mm-hmm.
Please leave feedback, comments on the Gruesome Magazine YouTube channel, or send email to feedback@gruesomemagazine.com, or the Facebook group, Gruesome Magazine's HNR and DOH podcast Facebook group. So, yeah, we love that stuff. And like, subscribe, alerts, share, tell your friends.
Yes.
We love talking about this stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
the more we hear from you, the more fun it is. Catch us again in 2 weeks for another great horror of the horror movie of the classic era, as only decades of horror can do it. Say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.
Night, Chad.
Bye, Chad.
Gruesome Magazine.